Hello everyone, welcome back. In our previous video, we have studied static analysis. So next, we will see what is meant by dynamic analysis. So let's have an overview of today's session. First, we will see introduction to malware analysis. Then, what is dynamic analysis? Some methods of dynamic analysis. So basically, there are two methods which we'll see further. And lastly, how dynamic analysis works. So first we will see a basic intro like what is malware analysis. Malware analysis is the study of unique features, objectives, sources and potential effects of harmful software and code such as spyware, viruses, malvertising and ransomware. It analyzes the malware code to understand how it varies from other kinds. So malware analysis, as we have seen in our previous video also, it is basically the process of analyzing the malware sample to study its code features in order to identify its types and harmful effects. So there are two types of malware analysis, static and dynamic. Static malware analysis we have studied in our previous video, which is meant to analyze the malware sample without executing it, and dynamic analysis. So in this video, we will focus on dynamic analysis. So what is dynamic analysis? Dynamic malware analysis refers to the process of studying the behavior of a malware by running it in a monitored environment. The environment design should include tools that can capture every movement of a malware in detail and provide feedback to the investigator. Also called as malware behavior analysis, runs the malware program to examine its behavior. So as we know, static analysis means to analyze the malware without its execution. So dynamic differs from this. It means to analyze the malware by executing it in a controlled environment. So this environment means virtual machine, so which is set up and it includes necessary tools to carry out dynamic analysis. And this type of analysis is also called as malware behavior analysis. Dynamic analysis makes it easy for the investigators to observe in real time how the malware interacts with the system properties and the network. So this type of analysis examines the malware in real time, like how it interacts with the system, what changes are done to the system after the execution of malware, how it communicates with the attacker, and so on. So dynamic analysis is performed in two ways: monitoring host integrity and observing runtime behavior. We'll see both of these one by one. So first is monitoring host integrity. Host integrity monitoring is the process of studying the changes that have taken place across a system or a machine after a series of actions or incidents. This dynamic malware analysis approach involves taking a snapshot of the system before and after the execution of a malicious specimen using the same tool and analyzing the changes to evaluate its impact on the system and its properties. So basically, monitoring host integrity, it means studying the changes that are occurred on the system after execution of a malware. For this, the investigator takes a snapshot of the system before execution and after execution, and then compare these two to detect the changes which have occurred on the system after its execution. So the next method in dynamic analysis is observing runtime behavior. In this approach, investigators monitor the malicious activities of the specimen as it runs on the system. Observing the malware in runtime environment enables the investigator to see how it interacts with the system and the network in real time, which helps them to detect its actual functionality and purpose. So, observing runtime behavior refers to the execution of malware and then observing its operation in real time to understand its function. So, this process helps to identify how the malware impacts itself, how it performs malicious operation, and whether it communicates with the external network or not. So, runtime analysis can be performed in two ways. First is system behavior analysis. System behavior analysis, as its name suggests, it involves monitoring the changes on operating system. Once the malware is executed, the changes which have been occurred on the operating system are monitored in this type of analysis. So the changes are monitored in the following components like monitoring the registry artifacts, processes, and then examining event logs. The next runtime analysis way or method is network behavior analysis. So it involves tracking the malware's network level activities and it includes monitoring of following network properties like IP address, then the ports which are connected, and examining DNS entries. So our last point is how dynamic analysis works. Dynamic analysis uses a behavior based approach to understand potential threats. So, making observations and logging any action the program makes both inside and outside sandbox environment is essential. Some of the information that dynamic analysis can reveal includes so basically dynamic analysis means malware behavior analysis. So it observes how the malware works after execution. And the information which it reveals include file system changes, registry changes, network setting changes, and firewall changes, process creation changes. So this is how dynamic analysis process works. So next we'll see some practical demonstration that is malware analysis in a controlled environment. For that purpose, we require an isolated environment to run or execute the malware for its analysis, that is a virtual machine and a malware sample. The tools which we'll be using are Process Monitor, Procmon, and cloud-based sandbox. So Procmon, that is Monitor, it displays the processes which are created once the malware gets executed on the system. It will also show the libraries which are being created once the execution of that particular malware sample, the process ID, and all other details. We'll see it while performing the practical. And then we'll use a cloud-based sandbox. So in this, we'll use a hybrid analysis, which is a cloud-based sandbox for the analysis purpose. So now we'll see how dynamic analysis work using the tools which we have seen before in the PPT. So the first one will be Procmon, that is Process Monitor, then Process Explorer. So both of these tools which will display the processes which are being created after the execution of that particular malware. So for demonstration purpose, I'll be using a sample malware file which is commonly an adware. So first we'll have to execute this malware file in order to see the changes or the running processes. So for that purpose, we'll be using process monitor tool. So it will capture the processes and will monitor it. So as you can see, different processes are being displayed here, which are being monitored or captured after the execution of the particular malware file. The system details are being displayed. So first we'll see the process tree. So currently the processes which are running are being displayed here, and those are divided here in system, then the winit.exe, services.exe, and all those processes, the executables are being displayed here. Here. So as you can see, the malware sample which we have executed on the system is displayed, that is adware.exe. So its description is also given. So it is a downloader, then where it is saved, name of the owner, and the command. All the details of this sample are displayed here. Also, you can see the event ID, that process ID, and then the thread ID and its result. So it is being successfully executed on this system. So for this particular adware, which is basically a downloader, here its details are being displayed in the process monitoring tool. That is its process ID, then parent process ID, session ID, the user, when it was started, and currently it's running. Also, different DLLs, that is libraries which are being used by this malware, are being displayed here, like you can see here. So these are the different libraries which are being executed once the malware is run on the system. So as you can see, this DLL we have came across during the time of static analysis while we were using the PE Studio tool. So it is related to the object link embedding, which is used for the documents. Then the related DLL. So also the shell means for executing the shell, remote shell on the target system. So all these DLLs are being used by this malware, and the exe executable files which run once this malware file is executed. So this is being displayed here. So these are the different exe files which are executed. So here different dynamic link libraries are also displayed. You can see here its location, and then path is also given. So we have seen the process monitoring tool which captures the current ongoing process on the system, and also we have seen about this particular malware sample, how the link libraries are being displayed and all. For the analysis purpose, we'll also use a sandbox, cloud based sandbox, that is hybrid analysis. So I have already uploaded the malicious file in the sandbox. As you can see, it has detected the file malicious. Then the score is being given, threat score. Its hash value is calculated. Then the size of the file. type, that is executable file, the SHA hash value, SHA-256, that is secure hashing algorithm, then operating system for which it is created, that is Windows. Then the antivirus results. So these are the two antiviruses systems which are used to analyze the files, and those have detected 100% and then 70% hashes, and these are the sandbox reports. So we'll see those. So as you can see here, this is a spyware post files to a web server. Then its network behavior, it has contacted one domain and one host. Additional context is hash value, and then the associated URLs are being displayed here. Suspicious indicators. So these are the suspicious indicators, that is a PE file, that is portable executable file, and packers are being used here. As it is shown, PE file is packed with UPX. So the packer, which is a component for malware creation, is used here. Next, this posts file to a web server. Also, it contains ability to download the files from the internet. So the URL to download the file is also being shown. The hash values and the DLLs from where it is streamed is shown here. Then it monitors specific registry keys for changes. So those registry keys are the system registry key, in which control set, and then services. So basically, some registry keys are monitored for changes. Then network related, it sends traffic on HTTP port but without a HTTP header. So this contains the ability to download files from the internet, then to enumerate the processes or modules or threads. So it creates a tool which is being displayed here, as it is shown, a kernel DLL, dynamic link library. Then the entry point in PE header is within an uncommon section. So it has entry point in this, it is shown, that is UPXI, so which is common uncommon. Then it imports suspicious APIs. So these details are being investigated with this sandbox tool. So this is a cloud based sandbox. So this is another sandbox. So as you can see here, the sample was identified as malicious by large number of antivirus engines. Also, it contains the ability to start or interact with the device drivers. And malicious artifacts are seen in the context of contacted host. Contains function calls, native function calls. So this is all about dynamic analysis. So first we have executed the malware sample on the controlled environment, that is in the virtual machine. Then for its analysis purpose, we have seen the process monitor tool. So process monitor, it has shown us the processes which are created after the execution of the malware. In that we have seen some dynamic link libraries which are being created after execution of that malware sample. Then we have uploaded this malware sample in the sandbox environment, that is hybrid analysis, and It has clearly shown us that the particular file contains a malware and also different properties of that file or different functions of that file after its execution. Also, you can see the language is being displayed, that is Chinese, then the product version, the name. We have seen this in the Procmon tool also, process monitor, the resources, file imports, and here the screenshots are being displayed. So after execution of that particular malware, it looks like this. So it is basically in Chinese language. Also, it gets closed due to some error, and before execution, this is the screenshot of that particular system. Then the network analysis. So as I have said before, it has contacted one domain and then one host. So the IP address and the name of the country is also being displayed here. So in this way, dynamic analysis works. So you can also create your own sandbox. Otherwise, you can use the cloud-based sandbox like I have shown now using the hybrid analysis sandbox. So there are other sandboxes available like AnyRun and then Cuckoo sandbox. So these three sandboxes provide us the dynamic analysis and a better view of the analysis. So this was all about dynamic analysis. We have seen what is malware, then malware analysis, then static and dynamic analysis, the type of malware analysis in detail. So thank you for today and stay tuned.